£21.3 million. That's what a beer company made last year. A beer company that only exists because a farmer couldn't sell his barley. Not couldn't grow it, couldn't sell it. The market simply refused to pay him a fair price for it. So he turned it into beer instead, and now it's the fastest growing brewery in Britain, sitting on shelves in Waitrose and Sainsbury's and 2,000 pubs across the country. That's not a farming story. That's something else entirely. Here's the real story nobody's telling about Diddley Squat Farm. It's not about a celebrity failing at agriculture for laughs. It's about what happens when every single institution designed to stop someone accidentally becomes the engine that makes them rich. The council, the government, the BBC. All of them took a swing, and every single swing landed as free advertising. Let's start where most people think this story starts. The farm itself. 1,000 acres of Oxfordshire, bought in 2008, right in the middle of the financial crash. Banks were falling over. Lehman Brothers had just taken the world's confidence down with it. And somewhere in the Cotswolds, Jeremy Clarkson, a man whose actual expertise was cars, not crops, quietly bought land nobody else wanted to touch. He told a newspaper it was about inheritance tax, land the government couldn't touch when he died. That was the official line. The unofficial line, the one he's admitted since, is simpler. He wanted somewhere to shoot pheasants. Either way, he owned the land and did almost nothing with it for 11 years. A local farmer ran it. Crops came and went. Clarkson stayed in his lane, shouting about cars on television. Then in 2019, that farmer retired, and Clarkson found himself standing on 1,000 acres with no plan at all. So he tried running it himself. Year 1, the accountant handed him the number. £144. Profit for the entire year on 1,000 acres. That's the number everyone remembers. It's also the least interesting part of this story, because here's what happened next. And this is where it stops being about farming and starts being about something much bigger. He opened a farm shop. A shed, basically, selling what the farm actually produced. And the local council came after him almost immediately. Enforcement notices, restrictions on what he could sell. When he built a restaurant in the lambing barn, they shut it down and gave him 6 weeks to tear it apart. Every single one of those fights got filmed. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. The council wasn't wrong to be strict. Cotswolds land is protected precisely because you can't build on it, can't industrialize it, can't turn it into a housing estate. Those restrictions are exactly what keeps that land valuable. The council trying to stop Clarkson was, without meaning to, protecting the value of everything he owned. He never once thanked them for it. He filmed himself furious instead. And the audience loved him for it. That's the pattern. Watch it happen again and again through this whole story. The government came after his tax position next. In late 2024, changes to agricultural inheritance tax relief were announced. Full exemption capped, everything above it taxed at 20%. For most family farms, that's the difference between passing land down and being forced to sell it. Clarkson got on a coach with Diddley Squat painted on the side, brought his farmhand Caleb Cooper along, and drove to Westminster to join a protest of thousands of farmers outside Parliament. A BBC reporter stopped him on camera and asked, essentially, whether he was just protecting his own money, pointing out he'd once written that avoiding inheritance tax was the whole reason he bought the farm in the first place. He fired back. The clip went everywhere. Half the country called him a hypocrite. The other half said the question proved exactly what he'd been saying about how out of touch the establishment is. Either way, Series 5 of the show basically wrote itself that afternoon. That's the mechanism. Say it plainly, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. His opponents keep handing him content. Every institution that tries to shut him down ends up producing the exact material that keeps people watching, which keeps the brand growing, which keeps the land appreciating. You can't buy that kind of marketing. You can only get lucky enough to have enemies who don't understand what they're doing for you. Now here's where the numbers get genuinely strange. The farm itself, land, buildings, the shop, is estimated at around £12.5 million today, up from roughly £5 million when he bought it. On its own, over 16 years, that's a decent but unremarkable return. But that's not where the money actually is. The pub, the farmer's dog, cost under £1 million to acquire and renovate. It now employs over 140 people and needed a 360-space car park built next door just to handle the crowds. People drive from Manchester and Birmingham for a Sunday roast made from British ingredients they could probably find in half the pubs in the country. They're not really paying for the food. The brewery, the one built from barley he couldn't sell, pulled in £21.3 million last year alone, nearly triple what it made the year before. None of that came from the land. All of it came from the story the land made possible. Add it up, and people who study this seriously put the whole operation somewhere north of £30 million. 1,000 acres bought for 5. That's now sitting underneath something no estate agent has a formula for. Over the last 20 years, UK agricultural land as a whole has risen around 203% in value. Clarkson's land has outpaced that by a wide margin, not because the soil got better, but because the story attached to it got more valuable than the ground itself. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. If you had a few £1,000,000 spare in 2008, in the middle of a global financial collapse, when everything felt like it was on fire, would you have put it into farmland, or somewhere that felt safer? It's easy to say yes now. Nobody was saying yes then. But there's a catch to all of this, and it's not resolved yet. The whole structure only holds together if the television show keeps going. If Clarkson stops farming, or stops farming badly enough to be entertaining, the brand fades. If the brand fades, the pub is just a pub. If the pub is just a pub, it can't justify a 360-space car park. And if all of that unwinds, the land goes back to being £12.5 million of very nice, very ordinary Cotswolds farmland. He's just turned 65. The tax lawyers say his plan to put the farm in trust and survive 7 years isn't nearly as simple as he made it sound on the steps of Parliament. So maybe the honest way to end this is with 2 competing readings, because both are defensible. 1. Clarkson understood something about land and attention that no property developer ever modeled, that in an age where everyone's watching, your failures can be worth more than your successes, and he built an empire out of institutions trying to stop him. 2. He got extraordinarily lucky, and the same farm, bought by literally anyone else, would have quietly gone up in value, and nobody would have ever heard of it. Which one do you believe? Genius, or the luckiest man in British farming? Tell me in the comments. I'm genuinely curious which way people land on this.